Hey, what's going on? I'm back at the Norris Dam, making a couple videos today on our findings here. What drew me to this area was I was driving through with my family and I saw this sign that said Jujube Apple Orchard, and I was like, no way, they have jujubes in Tennessee? That's really cool. I mean, I knew they could grow here. I just didn't think, from what I had seen so far, that there'd be any like popular demand for them, and I still haven't seen that, to be honest. A lot of people still have no clue what they are, but I came across these trees, and then I came back a little later and I noticed the jujube flowers that are so common, and then I started to see the fruit form, and that was really cool. And then I was coming over here to pick my kids up from their cross-country run, and all of a sudden I just noticed these trees were loaded with fruit, like way more productive than any fruit I'd ever seen on a jujube tree. And they are pretty productive trees, but I've also never seen trees this size. So these trees, there's a very good chance these are some of the original fruit trees that were planted here back in the late 1930s. So that would put these trees near 80 years old, which is incredible. I didn't even know they could possibly live that long. You can tell that this used to be a much more established orchard. There was a lot more varieties growing over here, but you can see that some of the trees have died over time, which you kind of expect with fruit trees. They aren't as long lived. I did look up though, and there are some people who sell a variety of jujube, which I call it jujube, not jujube, because I'm not weird. And sorry, had to go off on that tangent. But there is one called the Norris 1, which makes me believe that maybe there were some other varieties that were cultivated. Now, the reason I know these aren't just wild jujubes is because they are thornless. They don't have any thorns, which that could be a huge turnoff for a lot of people. Even some of the more common varieties have thorns. But for those of you who are looking for a solid fruit tree for the Tennessee area, especially this east side where there's high humidity, this jujube seems to do really well. Back home in Arizona, one of the things that we prided on our jujubes was that they were able to withstand extreme drought, extreme temperature. They didn't require a lot of chill hours. So those are some things that we really liked with the jujubes. Those are also some things that concerned me when moving here on whether I could grow them or not, because they get a lot colder here, which jujubes can survive down almost to zone 4A. They can survive really cold temperatures. We get a lot more moisture. I think there's more moisture here in a month than Arizona gets all year, including the monsoon season. So I was a little concerned that maybe the robustness of this tree, it might actually counter effect it if there was too much moisture. But these things grow, I mean, these things are massive trees. I've never seen jujubes this size. So obviously they can survive here with this weather. And chill hours obviously isn't a factor because, you know what? They get plenty of them. But I have noticed that these trees, the one thing that I've seen, and that's just because I noticed it right over here, I'll put a little shot of this in a second, they actually do kind of suffer from the weight of how productive they are. They're so heavy with fruit and no one's really taking care of these trees that the branches fall off, you know, just full of fruit. It's kind of sad, but they do. But these fruits, you know, they're all different shapes and sizes. I picked one that just was riper. It's a little on the smaller side, but I've tried it, and to me it honestly reminds me of my GA 866, which I went on and on about being one of the best tasting fruits around. And you know, aside from it being a little bit smaller, it definitely has a really good flavor. Those of you who don't know what a jujube tastes like, it tastes like a really good apple. So a lot of people don't know that about jujubes. They think, well, that's just a weird fruit, I'm not going to grow that. But apples can be really challenging to grow here. And if you really like that apple flavor but don't want to deal with all the issues that come with growing apples, having to spray them, not having the right variety of apple for the area, too much frost or late frost killing your flowers so you don't get them, but you really want that apple taste, jujube is the way to go. So I highly recommend you get some of these jujubes, plant them. You can find them online. right now they're becoming harder to find online. I think since COVID and people becoming more self-reliant, a lot of these fruit trees are becoming a little harder to get a hold of. So if you find one, grab it. There's a lot of good varieties out there. I think all of them will do well here. If you do live near some jujubes, some people have some concerns that they're an invasive plant. They do pop up root shoots from rootstocks, and those shoots can, you know, spread and become somewhat invasive. But from what I've seen here in Tennessee, they're not any more invasive than any of the other plants that just naturally pop up. You just gotta mow them over and bush hog them, or you can dig them up and use them as rootstock for some of these really good varieties. Free trees, guys. Why not? So that's my advice on jujubes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please get a jujube. They're awesome. And subscribe to this channel, and you'll be able to see a lot more of these jujubes to come, because I plan on collecting them and having as many varieties as I can get my sticky honey jujube hands on. All right, thanks everybody. Bye.